Hello guys, girls and everything else. Another Cargouide video. Well, yeah, this time I'm doing Magus. Pretty complicated class. Um, you know, Magus has some really weird things, But I will try to explain it the most I can. So, essentially in this series, once again, I'm just going to go over all of the stuff every Magus gets. Then I'm going to go over subclasses, and I'm going to recommend feats and also spells. Also, I will probably give you an example stat array that you want. Well, okay. Also, sorry, I'm kind of sick. So, first, your key ability score is either strength or dexterity. You may weird it out like, hey, this is partially a caster, so why specifically strength or dexterity, while it can be probably also the spellcasting stat, which is intelligence. Well, yeah, I will get to that later. That's because of the spell strike feature, but I'm going to explain later. Also, your hit points, they're pretty average, so watch out for that. Mm, no. Pretty similar to champion, you start with trained in perception and reflex and expert at fortitude and will. You also start trained in arcana like a wizard, and you get 2 skills plus your intelligence modifier, also like a wizard, because you're essentially just a mix of a wizard and a martial class. Even though a lot of people call Maguses, I saw like sorcerers, like sword. I've seen this be over here. This be a term that people use as a magus for a magus, but it's not really accurate. And similarly to almost every martial class, you start with weapons up to martial and armor up to medium. So now you can see your spells are kind of weird because you start with one first level spell slot, then you get a second first level spell slot. Seems normal. As a bit less spells. Then the same at second level, but at level 5, you exchange 2 first level spells that you have for 2 third level spell slots. And after you essentially gain level 4, you will always have 4 spell slots at once, up to 9th level, until you will have just 2 spell slots of 8th level and 2 spell slots of 9th level at the end. Well, now, of course, you get almost every normal thing, and just remember you need to learn use a spell book just like a wizard. And your spellcasting uses intelligence. But however, just give me a minute to explain it further. So now, you gain a thing that is called spell strike. So yeah, need to charge us. So for example, spell strike works like this. You take a spell that takes less than 3 actions, It either needs, as you can see, that a spell that takes 1 or 2 actions and requires a spell attack roll. Pretty simple, And then you make a melee strike with a weapon or an unarmed attack, And then the attack roll that you use with your attack is also the spell attack roll, which is very good for your action economy, pretty much. Why is it very good for your action economy? Well, you see, as you can see, because of, mm, you can recharge your spell strike as one action. Or it also recharge. So technically, it's this still like if you casted a spell with your action. I mean, normally it seems like it's good for your action economy at first, but then it doesn't, and then it does again. I hope that makes at least some sense. So, essentially, first thing you see is that it takes 2 actions, but can cast a 2-action spell and also a strike. Which, yeah, you use 3 actions for the cost of 2 actions, but then you need to actually charge it to actually be able to use it again. But however, you have things that are called conflict spells, which are essentially Magus focus spells. And and as far as I remember, all of them take 1 action to cast, So, how does it work? Wait, I just explained. Sorry, I'm sick. So, how does it work with conflict spells? Well, conflict spells are the things that are essentially your focus spells that you will get from your subclass. That's what I wanted to say, okay? And just remember, of course, just remember to make sure with that. So, of course, it doesn't work with meta magic. And remember, still, if the enemy is immune to attacks, the spell still hits as long as your normal thing. And just remember about this thing, okay? Still, as long as it has an attack roll, then it's fair game. It still applies all of the stuff it would normally apply. So now, your Arcane Cascade is a thing. So, you just use Spell Strike, and then you enter a stance that is called Arcane Cascade. So, essentially, you deal 1 extra damage. When you have weapon specialization, that's 2 extra damage, and 3 extra damage from attacks if you have greater weapon specialization. Of course, it gains arcane and magical trait, and depending on the spell that you casted, the damage will be different types. So, Abjuration and Evocation Force, usually, because there are just, like force barriers and stuff like this. That's why Force. Conjuration or Transmutation be the same type as weapon and attacks. Similarly, because when you use transmutation spells, you usually just transform yourself into stuff, and then you just use physical, and you just usually use physical attacks when you, for example, transform yourself into a raptor. And conjuration just usually summons a thing, and most likely physical thing, usually. And of course, divination, enchantment, and illusion, they're all related to mind, so mental, and necromancy is negative. Just remember also conflict spells according to your hybrid study. Now, of course, you get all of the normal stuff, and at 5th level you get expert at reflex saves, and you get expert at attacks also. At level 5, you get expert at reflex saves, and also at your weapons. At level 7, once again, you get a thing related to your subclass, and also weapon specialization, aka just extra damage. At level 9, you of course get expert at perception, at your spellcasting disease, and also a master at will saves, which of course, like every mastery thing, if you roll a success, it counts as a critical success. Now 11th gives you just expert at medium and light armor, and then greater weapon specialization, and just double the additional damage from weapon specialization, and also Juggernaut, aka Master at Fortitude saves, and same thing as with Will saves. Then DC, spellcasting DC to Master at level 17, and also along with that Master at medium armor. And then double spell strike. So essentially, that's pretty cool, because if you cast a spell that uses a spell slot to use a spell strike, then you can do it again once within a minute without expending additional spell slot, which is really good because you have like only 4 spell slots or so. Now, for your hybrid studies, I hope that this is not too long. That's 11 minutes, that's a bit too long than I thought. And then, of course, with other things like this, you will get some extra spells. And one conflict spell, which Indoxinable Iron is essentially it's types Great Sword, Great Axe, Great Sword, or a polearm. But you know, it pretty much, as far as I remember, it can work with any weapon that works with any melee weapon that works with 2 hands. And Thunderous Strike is essentially just like a cone attack, you know, when you hit and just earth shatters. And it deals sonic damage. You can of course use Enlarge as your studio spell at level 7, which once again, I forgot to tell you, essentially your study gives you additional spells. You essentially, at level 7, you gain some spell slot that can be used for like these 3 most generic spells that you can have, you know. And also, they increase to 3rd level at level 11th, and you of course add another haste, aka another generic spells, and at 13th, the most generic spell, probably Fly. So, yeah. Oh yeah, it is Fly. Yeah, I wasn't even looking. So, yeah, essentially you get just 2 extra slots for this, and now it allows Enlarge, which is pretty good. So, with Indoxinable Iron, I will need to actually show you a pick I would take for fix, you know? So, Indoxinable Iron uses 2-handed weapons that are mostly strength based if you want any good ones, you know? Like, pretty much almost every single one of weapons mentioned here, because there are like a couple of polearms that are finesse, but it doesn't matter too much. So you most likely need to put strength at any 18, and then you probably put like 14 in your intelligence, constitution, and wisdom. You can kind of dump dex, even though you just use medium armor. But at level 2, you pick Sentinel Dedication. You try to pick Sentinel Dedication at level 2 or something, at your class feat maybe. That will be a pretty good choice, I think. So, Of course, it gives you hit points, so it makes you kind of a tank, you know? Even though we also have another one that works for a tank, even better. But this one is essentially just for like your tank damage dealer. Um, and with, you know, the enlarge spell and stuff like this, I'm pretty convinced that this is supposed to be like, you know, either like a fighter. It is supposed to be either a fighter, like, you know, the melee fighter, or a barbarian, you know? I feel like it's supposed to be a barbarian though. Because, you know, every single one of these can be a bit attributed to, you know, like a fighter. But this one feels kind of a barbarian, especially since you get enlarge, which, you know, will increase your damage by, you know, a decent amount, you know. And of course, quite importantly, if you take Sentinel Dedication, you of course get heavy armor proficiency, which scales with your medium armor proficiency, which is really, really good, you know. So, um, that's pretty much it. It's if you want to play a barbarian wizard, and all of this is just wizard, you know, no other class. Maybe a witch if you pick a familiar, but wizard can do that too. And now Laughing Shadow. Um, Laughing Shadow, as you can see, it's a lot of like illusion spells and teleportation and stuff like this. So, of course, you get bonus to your speed. And if you attack a flat-footed creature, you deal extra damage. Yeah, that's essentially just like a rogue. I know that you may argue that it's a swashbuckler, but swashbuckler is essentially just an offensive rogue. So yeah, this is like a rogue swashbuckler wizard. Yeah, this is just essentially like an alternative to an arcane trickster. And dimensional assault. Well, you can see. Um, just even though it says you tumble through space, you don't need to make a fumble through check, you know? You can essentially just teleport to any square that's within reach of the creature, then you make a melee strike against one creature. Which is actually pretty good, you know? Especially if you're using an agile weapon, like a short sword, which is essentially like a rogue staple. Staple. I don't know. English is not my first language. I don't know how it's pronounced. And over here, Sparkling Touch, you get Shield Block, which, well, a lot of classes get. You know, fighters get it, champions get it. Of course, fighters, like always. War Priests get it, also Druids get it, which is pretty good, in my opinion. Like, I like Druids. I like Druids very much. And, well, when you're in Arcane Cascade, you also get additional AC. Yeah, well, over here, oh yeah, and also you can have like your spellbook as a shield. Yeah, and of course you have like the shielding strike, which, of course, you can raise a shield or cast shield then. It's pretty cool. I mean, you become kind of a tank, so it makes me believe that this is essentially just a champion, you know? This is essentially just a champion wizard. Oh yeah, of course, with Laughing Shadow I forgot to mention, I recommend like putting 18 in dexterity or so, and then all of your like stats that would be something like for 3 14s most likely, or 2 14s and a 12. I recommend putting them into intelligence, constitution, and wisdom. Um, okay, and now with Sparkling Charge, of course, it's a champion, so I would recommend that you make it kind of strength based with Sentinel Dedication, but nothing really stops you. Um, but nothing really actually stops you from using something else, you know? So go crazy. If you want like a very light tank, dexterity based tank, then go for it. Seems like a fun idea. You just reinvented the monk or something like this. Except monks don't get a shield block for free, so monks usually don't really use shields, and they don't get any shield boss or stuff like this. So you know. Oh yeah, and also you can consider taking the Bastion Dedication to be able to take something like the Everstand stance, that which would be pretty good, especially since you actually get the access to shield boss and shield spikes. So if you go for a strength based build with Sparkling Touch, you can take the Bastion Dedication and take the Everstand stance, which will be pretty good actually. Everstand. See, of course, Bastion archetype, and yeah, you increase the damage dice of shield boss or shield spikes by one step, which is essentially a d8 of damage, which is pretty good, and shields hardness by 2, which is pretty good when using shield block reaction. And you will do it with both hands, so you can only use that shield boss thing, but wow, that's still really good, and also reminded you about shielded strike and stuff like this. So right now we have started Span, which is like the bow guy. So over here it can be still a fighter. It can be technically a ranger, but we don't really have a dedicated bow class, Even though yes, I won't shut up about it throughout the episode. Mr. Taking 20 said that there's a dedicated archer ranger. There's not even a dedicated archer ranger among his 2 aka 3 subclasses, which one is extra damage, second is faster hits, and third one is bonus to AC and skill checks, which you have essentially just like spam extra damage, and then you have like the support guy. None of them is dedicated. None of them needs to be dedicated to a bow. All of them can work just as well with like a knife or something, or a greatsword. But over here, well, shooting star spell essentially just allows you to shoot ignoring the target's concealment. So I actually think that this is the closest thing we have to like a pure fighter, Or maybe I mean, we could also make an argument for rogue if we actually want this. But well, oh yeah, the most important thing, you can do spell strike with ranged weapons. I don't know if I said that, and of course dexterity should be your first stat. But considering the fact that we have freedom of movement and stuff like this, I think that Ranger would be slightly more appropriate than the Fighter. Because Fighter is mostly about the crit fishing with this. And kind of Spell Strike works similarly to, the thing that Rangers get with, you know, mm, the precision Hunter's Edge. Which essentially just deals extra damage, which, yeah, that's it. Extra damage, same like Spell Strike. And also they can get some focus spells. And Twisting Tree, you have like spinning stuff, which, yeah, you have a staff, so, and you hit with a staff, so I think that this is like the you can actually just have this. I mean, this improved stuff, essentially just a stuff that deals a d6 and has an agile trait. It has parry, reach, and trip traits if you hold it in both hands. Only thing that I don't really like about this is that it still deals just a d8 of damage if you hold it in two hands, because, the d8 thing. So I don't know if this is rules as intended or something, but I would personally let players have the two-handed d10 instead of two-handed d8. I meant two-handed, not deadly. I'm kind of sick once again. Forgive me. Now with Magus Fits, that's pretty cool. I mean, if you want to actually play a Monk Magus, which you can, Arcane Fists. Yeah, essentially this gives you the same thing the monks get for free. So yeah. Also, expansive Spell Strike, a pretty cool thing, It allows you to work with other spells, but it doesn't get the same benefits of needing just one attack roll for both of them. They still need to roll saving throws. But still that's saving some actions. But so yeah, it's pretty cool. Now we have the spell parry that, yeah, you can essentially give yourself 1+1 bonus to AC, but I don't recommend this, And Spirit Shift is pretty good if you're playing, the Laughing Shadow. Devastating Spell Strike, of course, it is just Indoxable Iron thing. That over here, if you have higher levels, then Fuse Stuff is one of the things that I recommend the most, I just love fused stuff, Your weapon being also a staff that allows you to have really, really cool things. And of course, Conflux Focus and Conflux Wellspring will be pretty good. Also, Supreme Spell Strike is my preferable thing, but Whirlwind Spell will be pretty good. If you're going for an Indoxable Iron Magus, then it will be pretty good thing. Of course, 4 things for, for like your weapons, that still just depends on your hybrid study. So Indoxable Iron, in my opinion, the best thing for Indoxable Iron would be probably a greatsword. Would be probably a greatsword, in my opinion. Or maybe a great axe if you would like to. The slashing damage is pretty good. And also piercing to bypass some resistances would be pretty great for that. But if you go for Whirlwind Spell later at level 20, I'm going to tell you that some weapon with a reach trait, just you should go. I'll try to see if it was added somewhere, but well, yeah, it will be pretty hard. But it's most likely a two-handed weapon, so let's just go with that. Okay, here we have, and the D12 weapons that we have would be a maul. All of the D12 weapons would be a maul, a great sword, and also a great axe. So these are all D12 weapons, but also if you're going for another one, I would recommend going for a halberd, or like any other one with the reach trait, you know. So reach. So yeah, these are pretty good. But don't look at the Dancer Spear. Unless you're trying to be bad. But don't worry, just kidding. Feel free to do whatever you want, as long as it's a two-handed weapon. So essentially these weapons are weapons that I recommend also for the extendable Iron Magus. Especially if you're going for the Whirlwind Strike. And also the great weapons and a maul. So yeah. If you're going for a sparkling charge, of course, a shield boss or a shield spikes. With Starlit Span, I recommend taking a short bow because of longbow's volley trait, and most likely, it won't be all that good, But also, you can just keep a longbow just in case. So you can actually, if there's a long range battle, you can actually pull it out and then spell strike immediately after that. And then and then for Twisting Tree, of course, you get your specific stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the whole video. Sorry it took so long, but I'm kind of sick, so it makes me kind of confused. And I think that it actually went pretty smoothly. Oh yeah, also forgot to mention that, but also forgot to mention like the spells. Sorry, just take arcane spells as long as they take like telekinetic projectile will deal a lot of damage. So that's out of cantrips. I recommend telekinetic projectile and just take any single spell that has an attack roll. It should be pretty okay. It should be pretty good unless it's Scorching Ray because it focuses on taking multiple actions. So as long as it has like an attack roll, then it should be a great combo. So yeah, just I don't know what more to tell you. I think that now I have everything done, At least I hope I have everything done. Okay, so Goblin Pox is a 40 save, so just Grim Tendrils, no, need a saving throw. So my go-to spells don't work, so I don't know, as long as it has an attack roll, it should be good. Um, yeah, I'm going to just like, oh yeah, Snowball. Snowball will be a very good spell for that. Will be a pretty good spell. It will essentially just deal double the damage of like Ray of Frost. It will deal some extra damage over like the other one, and if you're fighting some sort of like boss monster, then Ray of Enfeeblement is a very good thing. Maybe. Oh no, wait, that's not that. That's not that. Oh. Okay, now I look kind of stupid, I think. Because it's a 4-digit saving throw, okay. But I'm pretty sure that there was a Ray spell. Except like a. There was a Ray spell over here. Oh yeah. Yeah, Admonishing Ray. It deals extra damage. It deals extra damage and is good. So yeah, that's why I recommend it. A cargo approved spell, very good. And I don't know if Chromatic Ray also works, but yeah, like this. But yeah, it should be pretty good. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I have nothing more to tell you. And at least I hope I have nothing more to tell you. It's a pretty... I mean, considering the fact that it's Magus, which is one of the more complicated classes, the fact that it took like not even 40 minutes, it's pretty good, Since, Magus uses both spells and normal attacks, which is pretty confusing, but the next one is Summoner. And it will get pretty crazy then. So yeah, just remember, all of this is just my suggestion and my guidance to you. If you have your own way of playing a Magus, your way of playing a Magus will be probably also really valid, unless it's dumping your main stat or dumping your constitution. I have two of people like this in the group. One that decided to dump his main stat as a summoner, and second one that always dumps constitution for the sake of charisma and then rolls a charisma check once in the entire game. Once in the entire game, and only because I told him to. So yeah, unless this is your way of playing, then your way of playing is probably completely valid.